In this video, we're going to make a decision on the variation chord progressions that we came up with before, and we're also going to record in a custom rhythm and try out some other rhythms to get some kind of vibes going. So the first thing we're going to do is have a listen back to the progressions and see what's working best. So our main progression is in the verse tab here. Let's go back to the beginning where the vocal comes in. Now this is where I want things to switch up. So let's maybe just give ourselves 2 bars lead in so we can kind of hear how it transitions. Okay. I think this drop progression that I came up with myself, out of the 3, is the one that I like the most. Obviously that's quite interesting, but I think it's quite important as well to, although we're using this tool to try and bypass the need to be an expert in music theory, one thing we definitely don't want to bypass is our own kind of inner musical voice. And in fact, as a little aside, I think whenever you can try and develop this skill of kind of enhancing your musical imagination and being able to hear melodies, hear chord progressions, hear rhythms and ideas, the better really. So every opportunity you get, try and listen to music, immerse yourself in music, really focus on music that you love, because this inner voice is going to be what sets you apart from other people and makes you sound original. So even though these progressions sound good, and in fact they could be a really good starting point for something else, I feel like this one that I could kind of hear is actually the one that's working the best, which kind of makes sense because I could hear it. So it's what I wanted to hear in that position. But obviously what I've done is custom entered the chords. So we're going to be able to use this alongside Captain Beat and Captain Melody. So we're still going to be able to use the music theory hacks of Captain Chords, Captain Deep, Captain Melody, the Captain plugin suite essentially, to be able to enhance this idea and layer up multiple parts. But this is the one I'm going to go with. Okay, so just one more time. Let's just give ourselves a bit more lead in. Go back to the verse. Just what you need. Now it doesn't sound very smooth when it comes in. I think part of the reason for that is if you look at the verse here, we have a nice layered bass note there, which is filling out the chord and making it sound thicker. And that has not been implemented in this chord progression here. So I think that's something that we need to add in. So for each chord, I'm going to increase the complexity to 5 to give us a nice note layered in the bass to really fill out the frequency spectrum of the chords. Just what you need, music. Just come on now, all right together. You got to be love, hold on, and now you got it. You got to be love, groove on. So now I feel like we could go back here. Yeah, so I like that up to that point. We're going to need to maybe add in some chord variations later down the line, I think. Because this is going to be quite musical, and it's built around the a cappella, and I want it to kind of move around in terms of the harmony. So we'll come back to that later. But I think for now, let's have a look at working the rhythm. Now, I'm happy with the rhythm so far for this section. I think this is working quite nicely. So let's just flick across to our drop idea we've got. Okay, so there's things we could try here. Obviously, we can go through and try out preset rhythms. And sometimes you might try one of these and hear something within that and say, well, I like this part, but maybe not this part. And obviously, once you drag it into Logic or whatever DAW you're using, you can go in and edit that MIDI to be exactly what you can hear. Okay, so as well as adding in rhythms that way using presets, we can also add in custom rhythms. Now, there's 3 ways to do that. We can tap one here, we can use the MIDI keyboard, or we can use our computer keyboard. Okay, now we can either kind of overlay the rhythm with what's already there. So these would remain and anything we played over the top would replace what was there. Or we can clear it and we can kind of start from scratch essentially. Let's just bring the playhead back. We're going to work on that region there from 33 to 41. And what I'm going to do is use a MIDI keyboard to play in a rhythm. So here we go. You have to make sure this window is highlighted. Just what you need. Now there's a quantize option, so let's see what it's like without it. Not too bad, but there's a couple of hits here that are a little bit out, so we'll quantize it. Don't have to do all the way. We can also quantize the start or the end of the note. Click done, and then we have that assigned. Okay, now what I'm going to do is copy this and paste it into the next slot along. And I'm actually going to reset this one to be on every measure as it was. Select the chords, drag them out so that they again fill the space. And let's see what it's like alternating between this kind of choppy rhythm and more of a legato kind of rhythm. So we should be on the verse now. Yeah, I think that's working. I think maybe this progression here could be a little bit less boring, a little bit more interesting in terms of the rhythm. But I like the contrast, and I especially like the contrast between this section and the verse when that was playing. It definitely gives a sense of purpose and momentum to the track having that change up there. And it just demonstrates how much changing up rhythm actually allows you to create interest in your arrangements as well. Okay, so in this video, we first of all went through and decided on the progression that we're going to use from the 3 that I programmed in the last video. And then we set about creating a rhythm. We went through some presets to demo, and also we then put in a custom rhythm using this option here, and we explained how you can use the mouse, the computer keyboard or the MIDI keyboard. You can also quantize. You can clear what's there to either start a new one or overwrite what was already there. And once you're happy, you click done. And then we copied it across and then kind of reset it back to the original progression. It would have been actually better to copy it at the beginning to have the original one there. Would have saved myself a couple of steps, but that's fine. And then alter that one. But we copied it across and then reset on every measure for both the timing and also the rhythm was on every measure as well. And then we just auditioned that just to make sure that we were kind of dialed in nicely. Okay, so now we've covered adding in some chord rhythm. In the next video, we're going to complete our look at the chords for the track by adding in a little bit of a development for the track in terms of the chord progression.